Come on in. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about the best failed idol plays of all time. A correct immunity idol play is tricky to pull off, but for those who do, there's almost universal praise in saving oneself or one's close ally with a well-deployed idol. But what about idol plays that didn't actually work, but which probably should have? Today, I thought it would be fun to talk about some great idol plays that didn't actually send anyone home. For this list, I'm going to take idol plays which had ulterior motives other than negating the largest amount of votes off of the table, like Jesse playing an idol on Owen with the goal of scaring Carla into playing her idol, for example, as well as Parvati's double idol play, where technically the idol on Sandra didn't work. Those aren't really in the spirit of what I'm looking for this video, because I don't think anyone would ever reasonably call those idol plays a failure. And I also won't be including idols which would have worked if not for the idol nullifier. Today, I'll only be looking at idol plays which had the primary intention of eliminating another player, but which didn't. So find out who the other one is, hold up your bro, and is that an idol in your pocket? Or are you just happy to see me as we take a look at 5 failed idol plays that were still great strategy. At number 5 is Jake's idol play on Katurah at the final 5 of Survivor 45. This is a move where the idol play should have worked, if the execution of literally every other part of the plan wasn't completely botched. I don't think anyone would deny that Jake had a rough road in Survivor 45. Jake was the kind of player who often had good ideas, but didn't have the social capital to execute them. And as the game wore on, he became more and more desperate to have literally any impact. He was quickly entering the Romeo tier of irrelevance by the end game. But his potential for a big moment comes at Final 5 when Katurah proposes blindsiding D. Wait, am I hearing things correctly? You didn't say Bruce, did you? With the remaining members of Reba finally fracturing, this was the perfect opportunity for Jake and Katurah to do something they hadn't been able to do since the game started. Work together. If only. Katurah was a paranoid, risk-averse player who lost trust with Jake very early in the game. Jake was extremely self-interested and viewed Katurah not as an ally, but as a pawn in his own big moment. This will undoubtedly go well. Jake initially planned to join Austin in targeting Julie this round, but realizes he can have a bigger impact in the game by playing his idol on Katurah, negating the Reba votes while he and Katurah would vote for D, which would send her home. But Jake makes the mistake of not telling Katurah about the part where he's going to play the idol on her because he wanted her reaction to be genuine. And at Tribal, Katurah gets cold feet and flips her vote to Julie to ensure her own safety. All Jake had to do was tell Katurah he was going to play the idol on her, and Katurah likely still votes D, and suddenly, this game is wide open. While Jake's plan was smart strategically, it was just never going to work with these two at the helm, because they had zero trust with one another, and they were both extremely self-interested players, but in completely opposite ways. Still, I'm giving a lot of points to Jake for trying something here, and points for trying are really the only points you can give him. At number 4 is Michael's idol play on Stephanie at the final 17 of Survivor Ghost Island. This is the failed idol play that could have saved us from a whole season of Navidi Strong. Frustratingly, the random tribe swap in Ghost Island resulted in a Navidi majority over Malolo on both tribes. But the Navidi Strong sentiment was particularly strong on, well, ironically, Malolo. You see, Kellen had some sort of blood pact with an elder god to eliminate every single Malolo player at any cost. So the 4 original Malolo members on this tribe, Michael, Brendan, Stephanie, and Jenna, had basically no chance up against 5 Navidi. Their only hope was Michael's idol, one of James's original unused idols from Survivor China. This was just a standard idol with standard rules, giving Michael a 1 in 4 shot of playing it correctly. But he comes up with a really clever bluff that his idol can protect 2 players, because James went home with 2 idols in his pocket. This is clearly a ridiculous lie, but it's just on the cusp of believability for idols and advantages in this era. Now, if he'd left it there, things might be good. But in an effort to get Chelsea or Seabass to flip to their side, he says that the Malolo 4 are voting for Bradley, completely de-incentivizing any members of Navidi to flip out of fear. And though Michael tries to read the room when playing the idol, he doesn't read it correctly and plays it for Stephanie when they were actually gunning for Brendan. This is one where I'm giving most of the credit, not really for who the idol was played on, but for the lie surrounding it. Michael straight up misplayed this idol, though Stephanie was a reasonable guess as their target. But I think he deserves a lot of credit for the inventiveness of his idol lie. And hey, at least this idol was actually played on someone on his season.
This was Ozzy's fake hidden immunity idol stick from Survivor Micronesia back in 2007. This one's for Ozzy.
Okay, all votes for Ozzy will not count. Got it. At number 3 is Adam's idol play on Hannah at the final 9 of Survivor, Millennials vs. Gen X. Sometimes an idol is just an extra insurance policy to ensure you get your way. The foursome of Adam, Hannah, Ken, and David were just on the wrong side of a Survivor civil war, so deadlocked it came down to a random rock draw the previous round, which they lost to Zeke's alliance of Brett, Jay, Sunday, and Will. However, despite literally drawing a rock out of a bag for his fate the prior round, Will is now ready to switch sides. David's alliance plus Will want to take out Zeke, while Zeke's alliance is going for Hannah. The battle lines were drawn, but there was a very reasonable suspicion of where Will's loyalties lay, spurred on by Ken completely outing Will's plan to flip, which did not go unnoticed by Will. Bro got activated like the Manchurian Candidate. The Milkchurian Candidate. Will ultimately did side with David's alliance here, but just to be safe, Adam played his crotch idol on Zeke's target Hannah to ensure that his alliance would get through this vote, regardless. This is a fairly underrated move, in my opinion. Though he only negated 4 of 9 votes, Adam punched his alliance's ticket to Final 8, knowing Zeke's side would completely fold without him. Plus, no one really knew where Will's vote was going, and he very easily could have swung back towards Zeke and Jay's side, especially with Ken doing his best to make that happen. This was a great play by Adam to ensure his alliance's safety, because we all know Will's only truly loyal to one thing.
Milk.
At number 2 is Dan's idol play on Angelina at the final 12 of Survivor, David vs. Goliath. Dan mostly read the room correctly on this one. He just got outflanked by the Davids. The merge of David vs. Goliath was initially split along original tribal lines, and at 12 there are 5 Davids and 7 Goliaths. Now, I don't know about the original Bible story, but in this David vs. Goliath showdown, the Goliaths have the upper hand because Dan has 2 idols, making the hot cop from the hot cop meme somehow one of the most powerful players in the game. Imagine if they still put people from random memes on Survivor now. Get Hawktua on the horn. She would be awesome. The Goliaths don't have enough to split a vote, so the Davids know they'll target one of the 5 of them. With an Alec tip-off that Christian is the target, Davey plays his idol on Christian, negating all 7 of the Goliath votes. This is where the scrambling begins. Angelina begs Dan to play his idol on her, which he begrudgingly does. Dan was in a tough spot here because Angelina was the obvious target, and if he doesn't play his idol on her, he very publicly looks disloyal to his whole alliance. On the other hand, it's Angelina. In my opinion, Dan made the right call in this scenario. He was immune, so there was no chance this could backfire on him, and he correctly deduced that the Davids would target Angelina, and he had his second idol as ammo for the next round. But what he didn't consider is that the Davids would ingeniously split votes from the bottom in a move never done before in this game. And though Dan's idol negated 2 votes for Angelina, 3 went on John, sending the mayor of Slamtown to Ponderosa. This was still a good move for Dan in my opinion. He just got straight up outplayed. The Rizzler would have called this one right, though. At number 1 is Carolyn's idol play on Carson at the final 7 of Survivor 44. This idol play would have worked if Carolyn's opposition played optimally, but as we've seen on Survivor, players often do not know what their optimal move is in the game. Since the merge of Survivor 44, the Tika 3 masterfully played the middle between Soka and Ratu, whittling down either side one by one by hiding behind, looking like 3 of the least threatening human beings to ever exist. But at Final 7, Danny and Heidi, all that remains of Soka, are on to Tika. The best move for every non-Tika left in the game is to team up and even up the score by taking out one of the Tika members. This is their last chance. If they don't take a shot now, Tika will have full control for the rest of the game. Someone should tell that to Lauren and Jamie. Heading into Tribal, Carolyn knows that Ratu and Soka's best move is to come together and take one of them out. And with Jam Jam immune and Carson the de facto target ahead of her, she correctly plays her idol on Carson. This should have been Carolyn's big moment, when she saved her closest ally and sent a huge threat to the jury all in one fell swoop. But Lauren and Jamie, the remaining Ratus, completely fumbled this round. And instead of doing the optimal move for their own games, they opted to go with a split vote plan on Soka and vote for Heidi, meaning that Carolyn's idol only negates the votes of Heidi and Danny. This idol play was 100% the best move for Carolyn. Carson should have been the target this round, but Lauren and Jamie simply played suboptimally and against their own best interests. And had this worked, maybe Carolyn has a fighting chance at Final Tribal Council. Worst of all though, this vote subjected us to Danny's De Niro impression.
You snuffed my torch, Jeff? Snuff my torch. Huh? Snuff my torch. Snuff it. Yeah, snuff my torch. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I can forgive bad Survivor play, but forcing this into the world? Too far. Got nothing else for ya. If you'd play your immunity idol on me, like and subscribe, and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.